Hey everyone, thanks for checking out this video. Today we're going to go over creating some groups with dynamic membership rules and how we could use those rules to help automate some of our user onboarding and offboarding and licensing and app assignments. And we're going to even jump into using a graph a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is make the, in this case, we're going to do two different groups. We're going to do a department-based group, and then we're also going to do a licensing type group, right? So these are two groups that I think a lot of our environments are going to have. So the first one I'm going to go ahead and make is going to be the department group. We're just going to call it IT staff. Description is all staff members in information technology. All right, and then here's where we're going to change that membership type to a dynamic user. We don't need a user or a owner right now, but now you can see where you have this dynamic user members, and you can add a dynamic query. So we're going to click on that, and that brings us to our dynamic membership rules blade. Now here is going to be where you set these rules up, right? You're going to choose your property, so anything like department or mail, mobile number, operator, so like, equals, not, these kinds of things, and then whatever value you're going for. So in our case, we're going for department. The operator is going to be equals, and that value is going to be information technology. All right, and then this always catches me, like you got to kind of click off that field and then click on save for it to actually work, and it kind of feels like a double click at this point. And then we're going to go ahead and create that. All right, so now we have our IT staff group. Obviously there's no members in there, and we could look at our membership rule. Department equals information technology. Great. Now we're going to do the second group, and this group is going to be O365 staff, and this is going to be all staff that need O365 license and deployment. All right, and again, we're going to switch that membership type to dynamic user, no owner, add dynamic query. And you might have noticed the first time I clicked on this property, how many options we have available to us, right? Now, if you're moving from an on-prem environment to Azure, or you have AD Sync or something like that going on, you're probably used to seeing these extension attributes, right? These are in my production tenant, these are being synced from our on-prem AD, and it contains different values, and we use them for some of our scripting. Now, if we wanted to create a group on one of those attributes, it's going to be just like we did before. Extension attribute 1, in this case, we're going to do equals, and I'm just going to make this O365. All right, click out of it, click on save. It's weird, it doesn't light up sometimes. All right, create. So now we have our O365, our O365 staff group, dynamic membership rules. You can see extension attribute equals O365. All right, now let's create the user that we want to be part of those groups. And you know, it doesn't matter how this user is created. I think most environments are going to have some kind of HR or personnel management software that's going to onboard these users into our Azure environment. But in this case, we're just manually creating it, right? So it's going to be J, and we'll do J again. J. Whoop. Williams. That's me. Auto-generate password. We don't really need to know it right now. And here's what I'm talking about. Instead of going in here and assigning these two groups, which we can't do since they're dynamic, we want this process, this portion of the process, to be automatic. So right now, all I'm going to add is information technology. I'm just scared I'm going to spell this wrong in one of these places. Again, this is a good reason to automate this. Human error, right? All right, so we have this user, Jay Williams. You can see here the department is information technology. But then that other field was extension attribute 1. And where do we add that, right? There's nowhere to do that in the GUI. And that's where Graph really comes in handy, right? So you could use PowerShell, you could use Postman, you could use whatever you need to use. In this case, I'm just using Graph Explorer. I've logged in with my global administrator account, and I've also already modified my permissions to include user read-write, right? So I'm going to change the version to beta, because I always use beta for the most part. And then users, right? So if we just do a get on that endpoint, in this tenant, it's not a big deal because there's only 2 users. And actually what we'll do is we'll throw on a query on the end for select equals ID display name. Cool. So you can see that I have my global admin account and I have the user that we just created. Now, if you have pages and pages of this, I can't remember how many it'll return. It's something like 100 or 500. I can't remember. But if you have thousands of users, then you're going to get pages and pages of results, and that's not really a good way to kind of go through there. But lucky us, it's right here, right? And they even know we're going to have to copy it. All right, so we copy that. Now we have the object ID for the user that we just created, and we'll run a get on that. And you can see down here, and never mind all this stuff that we can now see. But right here is that property that we were looking for, extension attribute 1. And you see that it's nested kind of in this on-premises extension attributes. And this is what I was talking about, right? If a lot of us, like me, are syncing users from an on-prem Active Directory, you're probably used to, this on-premises property, and that's where it comes from. But just because this user is created in the cloud and doesn't have any associations or affiliations with on-prem AD, doesn't mean that we can't still use this extension attribute. All we're going to want to do is change this to patch in this case, right? We're not making anything new. We're not deleting anything. This property already exists. A value for it, technically, even though it's a null value, this does exist. It's there. It's associated with this user. It's there. So we could use this, and we're just going to copy that little portion there, right? And we're going to build this body here. And this is going to be in JSON format. Okay, so since it is JSON format, we're going to want to throw another bracket up here. We got to wrap everything up, right, basically. Whoop. Throw another bracket here. And then we're only interested in that. Well, let's just do 2 just for demo's sake, but our dynamic membership rule is only looking for 1, but just to let you guys know, you could do more than 1 at a time, and you could wrap this all up in a script too. So in this case, we're doing extension attribute 1. We need it to be 365, and then I guess for this one we'll do for demo's sake. And then, like I said, we're going to do a patch on this because we're just updating the info there. We're going to run that, and you can see that we don't have a return. We're not expecting one, but we do have a successful status. And actually, what we'll do now is switch this back to get, and we'll just verify this, right? And there you go. You see our on-premises extension attributes, extension attribute 1, O365, and extension attribute 2 is for demo's sake. Now, you're still not going to see this in here, right? Because, like we know, the GUI's not exposing that property. But with any luck, I doubt it's happened yet, because these groups, these dynamic membership rules don't process that fast usually. But we'll check the IT staff one, because that one should have processed by now. And yeah, you have one user, check the members, and it's the user that we created, information technology, the department. And that's how it automatically joined this group. Now let's go ahead and check this one. Okay, so no users yet. You can see that the update is complete. And this is kind of one of the things that I see people asking a lot, is how to kick off this dynamic membership processing again. And what I suggest, and what I usually see being suggested, is to just open up the rule, edit it, throw a space on the end, save it, and that will get the rule processing. Throwing a space on there, it's going to get trimmed off. It's not going to cause any errors. It just allows you to basically save it again as a new version, and now the dynamic membership rules are going to start checking back in, right? And sometimes this could take a little bit. Sometimes it could be really fast. But since I'm doing a demo, it is going to take a little bit. So now you can see that at least it's switched to evaluating. Since I only have 2 users, it shouldn't take too long. But now that I said that, and this is how I refresh my page, by the way. I really do wish there was a refresh button up here, just like there is up here. I guess I could just sit in this page and refresh, but I'll just pause the video at this point and then come back. So let's see, it is 10:32, and we'll see what it looks like here in a couple minutes.